Only got 48 slides. Just kidding. 28 slides. But we're going to talk about crafting hard money, the beauty of proof of work. So much like power, you can't change the world or make something good quickly. It takes time, effort, and an insane amount of thought. So today, this is not financial advice, okay? This is information, facts, and numbers. I'm going to present basically everything that's going on in the world. We're going to touch on the history of the US dollar, the current problem that we are facing, money printing. Time is money. Time is the most important thing in our lives. The invention of Bitcoin. We have a new asset class in the world. We're going to deep dive proof of work and the benefit it brings. My goal is to, like I said, bring facts, information, and numbers. Nobody can tell you didn't know. All right? Yeah, at least we'll have this information going into the future. There's only two provably scarce things in the world. The first is time. You cannot get more time. The second is Bitcoin. I challenge you to think of a third. And if you can think of a third, please text me. But provably scarce things in the world, there's only two. So real quick, the US dollar. In 1792, the US Mint issues the first US dollar, which was a coin. This was based on a gold and silver standard. In 1861, during the Civil War, greenbacks were issued. This was the first paper dollar used in America. We still had coins, but this was the first paper-backed money. In 1900, the Gold Standard Act was passed. So this established gold as the sole standard for redeeming US dollars. So they got rid of silver. They're like, silver, you're not shiny enough. We need to go with just gold. In 1913, the Federal Reserve was created to stabilize the monetary system. I put stabilize in parentheses because we all know it's to control the monetary system. And a lot of people think this is why the Titanic sunk. Has anyone heard that conspiracy?
Yes.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild if you deep dive that. There's a lot of people that wanted to stop the Federal Reserve. They were all supposed to go on the Titanic.
Oh, I have heard of that.
Some person didn't make that vote,
Yeah.
and then that sunk, and then the Federal Reserve was created the next month. So they now have run the monetary system since 1913. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement was established, which made the US dollar the global reserve currency. This pegged the dollar to gold and other currencies to the dollar. So since 1944, the US dollar has been the main monetary system in the entire world, and we still are the global reserve currency today. In 1971, Richard Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard. So there was a huge trade deficit going on in America, and countries were just basically redeeming dollars for gold, and our gold reserves were going to the ground. And Richard Nixon decided to remove that gold standard, so now the dollar was not pegged to anything. In 1985, the Plaza Accord was signed by major economies to depreciate the US dollar. So this was basically the beginning of money printing. They were able to just kind of create new money to fix issues. And this was actually agreed upon because it was the global reserve currency and they had to fix a couple things going on at that time. In 2008, the global financial crisis happened. We all know what happened there. Well, I don't know if everyone knows about that, but like mortgages, banks were just approving everyone. For any type of loan, anyone was getting approved because they were getting bonuses to approve more people, even though they knew these people weren't gonna pay it back. You saw The Big Short, it explained it like completely. But the Fed, during this time, lowered interest rates to zero and began quantitative easing. So from 2008 to basically 2023, 2022, we were at 0% interest rates. So it was like free money. You could borrow and literally do whatever you wanted with that money because you weren't paying interest. And then obviously 2020, the COVID-19 epidemic happened and saw unprecedented fiscal and monetary measures. So we just printed money. Everybody got a check. You got a check. You got a check. Your company got a check, right? So everybody was getting free money because they were fixing the issue, right? When they were actually breaking the system because there is a plan going on in the background. We're just not in on it. So today the money is broken. The United States of America is $34 trillion, $775 billion, $500 million in debt. That's insane, okay? So almost $35 trillion in debt. We are adding $1 trillion to our debt every 100 days with no end in sight, and that can only magnify as our debt rolls into higher interest rates. 40% of the US dollars circulating have been printed in the last 4 years. The dollar's been around 230 years. The last 4 years, we have printed 40% of the dollars. So if your money's been sitting in your bank account and you're not investing, you are losing money every time they push that magical money printer button. So the Fed does not have to answer to any part of the government. They don't have to answer to the president. They don't have to answer to Congress. They get to push that money printer button whenever they want. They are not elected officials. We don't get to choose who's in charge of the Fed. They are in charge by whoever picks that, and they get to push that money printer whenever they want. Obviously with power, we have to approve homeowners to get that work done. We can't just approve everyone, right? So if America was a household, they would have 46.8K in annual family income, 64.7K in annual family expenditures. This is Social Security, Medicare, your basic government budget. 17.9K in new credit card debt from this year alone, and 345,128 in existing credit card debt. Would Power give this credit card, this company a loan?
No.
Fuck no, right? But yet, who gives them that loan? We do, the taxpayers. We are paying this. We are getting, every time they push that button, we pay that bill. So what actually is backing the US dollar? So before 1971, the US dollar was backed by gold. It had the gold standard. In 1974, the petrodollar was created. Have you guys heard of the petrodollar before, that term?
I've heard of the term, I just didn't know what it was.
Yep, so this agreement had Saudi Arabia price its oil exports exclusively in US dollars. Once they did that, other OPEC, which is organizations of the petroleum exporting countries, nations followed suit. So every company that exported oil, because of this agreement, they had to price their oil in US dollars. So that's how people traded. You can't trade with digital yuan or anything else. This forced countries to have to keep dollars in reserves, which they would then invest in the US treasuries to earn a yield while they had that money that they had to hold. In 2023, the BRICS countries started taking local currencies for oil. They broke that agreement. The BRICS countries is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They make up over 40% of the world population. January 1st of this year, 2024, they added Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. This makes up about 80% or 75% of the world population. So if it isn't gold backing the dollar, and it's no longer the petrodollar, what is backing the dollar? Darren, you know the answer? Military, right? So we all know it's the military. Like our world power, our strength is our military. Our military budget's like half our GDP. But in reality, the real answer is debt. People have to buy American debt, our bonds, Japan, China, and we can keep them in debt because we can, with inflation, you get less money with your dollars, so you got to buy more dollars. But nobody's buying our debt anymore. Our banks are buying our own debt now. So it's getting a little crazy. And the gold standard of our debt is commercial real estate. This was like the prime real estate you can own on Manhattan, Fifth Avenue. The gold standard is commercial real estate. But today, because of COVID, 20% of corporate real estate is not paying rent. Go to your local mall. Go to your local shopping center. How many closed businesses are there? It's getting a little crazy, right? Because the US consumer is struggling. They can't go to dinner. They can't go to the movies. They can't go and spend that extra money anymore because your dollar does not get you what it used to get you. And you're not getting a raise. A McChicken, which is, everyone used to get that, the dollar menu, right? Has gone up 201% in 4 years.
What?
Did you get a 200% raise this year?
No.
Did you get a 5% raise this year? 20% raise this year? Credit card is at an all-time high. Homeowners are insanely in debt. And it's really hard to catch up. Like it's very difficult to catch up. Interest rate, if you want to buy a new house, is at 7.7% for home mortgages. So they just want to keep you where you're at. Who's buying the houses right now? corporations,
Banks.
businesses, banks are inheriting the houses.
Yeah.
Because corporate real estate is struggling so much, businesses are now buying family homes, which makes the price go higher, and they're keeping it at high interest rates, so you can't get a house. I just threw some stuff up here because, you know, just so you understand, like Bed Bath & Beyond closed all 360 locations after bankruptcy. Rite Aid closed 77 stores. CVS is struggling. Walgreens is struggling. Old Country Buffet closed all remaining locations. IHOP, 100 locations. Buffalo Wild Wings closed all their Canadian locations and 60 US locations. Applebee's, I love Applebee's, closed 35 locations. Red Lobster, 50 locations. Pizza Hut, 500 locations, right? And I could have kept going. And this is just food, but like food, people go out to dinner, you like to enjoy, you go see with your family. Now it costs you $100 to go to Applebee's, right? So, you know, it's just hurting companies, and that makes people get laid off. It is harder to find a job today than it was in 2011 after the financial crisis. Inflation is the one form of taxation that can be imposed without legislation. So as they devalued the dollar, your dollar gets you less. So technically you're being taxed. And that isn't voted on, that isn't approved, that is just money printer button. They just push that button and they take money from you. This was back in 1974 when we got off the gold standard, 50 years later. And it's not just the US, so I need you to understand the US currency is the strongest currency in the world. And we're going through everything we're going through. And we are the strongest currency in the world, okay? Zimbabwe currency lost 68% of its value against the US dollar within 11 weeks. Venezuela experienced 65,000% inflation in 2018. Argentina's inflation rate, 161% in November of 2023. Let's go Javier Milei. They just elected a new president who literally has taken over the country and has changed everything. And the people's money is coming back. So like more leaders like that aren't gonna just let the government like steal from their people is what we need. The Egyptian pound was devalued more than 38% this year alone since January. Turkey's inflation rate was 64% in December of 2023. Lebanon's inflation was 212% in November of 2023. If you're not from America and you can't get US dollars, and you want US dollars, how do you get US dollars?
Currency
Currency,
exchange.
yeah,
You gotta go to a bank, currency exchange, an airport. What if they say no? You can't. You can't get the dollar. We can weaponize the dollar. This is what we did to Russia and why the BRICS countries started, because we cut them off from the SWIFT network. So when you can weaponize the global reserve currency, you can keep countries in their place. You can keep people in their place. They have to get devalued 212%, right? So when they print money, they steal your time. Time is money. We have exact amount of time. You don't get an extra minute, you don't get an extra second, we have the exact same amount of time. What you get to do with that time is life. I would normally like ask you guys these questions, but I didn't want to take up too much time, but 1 million seconds is 11 days. 1 billion seconds is 32 years. That's the difference between $1 million and $1 billion in time. 1 trillion seconds is 32,668 human years. The Neanderthals were on Earth back then. You can't even comprehend that amount of time. We are adding $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. The average human is alive for 2.4 billion seconds. So your time matters. No one is special. We each get 160 hours in a week. 56 of those are spent sleeping. That's only if you sleep 8 hours a day and you don't take a nap. 40 of those are spent working, and that's only if you work 40 hours a day and you have no commute. This gives everyone, the average person, 72 hours for themselves. So like I said, we are not the 1%. We don't get to not work. We don't get to not do what we have to earn money. We have to earn money. We aren't given money. So when you're not, when you have to think about money, your time is always going to be focused on how to earn more money. Because again, that's how you get to live. So again, your time equals money. This is the most important thing. When money becomes easy to create, It loses its value and destroys economies. Friedrich Hayek in 1988. This is what brought down the Roman Empire. A lot of people say different things, but their money got depreciated so bad that the people revolted. They broke their money. So this is what takes down a lot of powerful nations, is once they start to depreciate their dollar, their money, it affects everyone. And the majority, the 99% of people. So do you understand the problem yet? Problem, feature, benefit is what I'm hitting you with. So now you understand the problem. Money printing has to continue. There's no way of stopping this. The US cannot default on their debt, or the entire economy, global economy, will be gone. Do you get a check when they push the money printer, or are you paying the bill? In COVID, we all got a check. $1,200, $1,500, right? It was nice. We got some savings. You weren't spending money though. Even if they give you $1,200, hey, we're not shutting our house anymore, so you're still going to spend that in a week. So only those close to the money printer feel the benefits. And World Economic Forum's famous quote, "You will own nothing and be happy." Because they're buying everything and they want to keep you can't own this. You have to enjoy your life as we make it. As of 2009, there is now a solution for everyone. An anonymous creator that is known only by its alias, Satoshi Nakamoto, gifted the world with perfectly hard money. They created a fundamental new element in the world, known as provable scarce digital property, also known as Bitcoin. This new form of property is backed and protected by the genius of the proof of work network. When you are creating a new money, not hundreds, at least 10 different versions of this in the past have failed. People have tried to cryptographically create money, and it's failed every time, because before this, there was two forms of a ledger. Centralized ledger, where one person controls it. So you give me 2 goats, I give you 2 bales of hay. What if you go back to me, he's like, oh no, I got 3 goats written down here. No, it was 2. That guy can change it. They're in control, you gotta trust that person, right? And then it was a decentralized ledger, where everyone had that accounting system, but only a few could change it. So if they were in cahoots, they could then change that ledger. All digital currencies that were created before Bitcoin had a double spend issue, where if you spent this, it might register twice instead of once, and that error messed up the currency, and people found glitches and could break that network. So that is the genius behind proof of work, which is what we're going to deep dive today. So the creation of Bitcoin, real quick. Satoshi created Bitcoin as a response to the flaws in the traditional financial system, and to provide a decentralized form of digital currency that operates without the need of a centralized authority. He, she, they, nobody knows who it is. Could have been a group of people. Some people think it was the CIA, and that's been this whole plan with COVID. Obviously, that's deep stuff, but Satoshi Nakamoto stands for CIA. If you actually like, yeah, it's cool. But I think that's also why they picked it, right? But obviously, let's say you knew the problem, the money printer, like it just can't fix, right? Because you got to print more debt. We're out of control of their debt. They could introduce this anonymously and fix that issue. But the best part is they did it in the right way. But he, she, they had an impossible task of creating a new fair form of money that had to work from day 1 to year 200 and beyond. Block 0, also known as the Genesis block, was produced on January 3rd, 2009, and it hasn't stopped running since. The Genesis block was coded with this New York Times article in it. This was posted that day in the New York Times. Chancellor on brink of second bailout of banks. So when you understand, they understand the issue. This was during 2008 financial crisis. They reset the debt to 0. So all bad actors got their slate wiped clean. They were able to just erase their debt. May 22nd of 2010 is known as Pizza Day. Maybe some of you heard of Pizza Day, but someone paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 Papa John pizzas. And currently at that time, 10,000 Bitcoin was $41. Today's worth $690 million. expensive pizza,
Yeah.
right? But that was the first monetary transaction with Bitcoin. So we celebrate, people celebrate that May 22nd every day. Every year. So that'll always be celebrated. How does Bitcoin and power combine, right? So obviously power wasn't built overnight. We understand the process that goes into building a great company. One person cannot change the world by themselves, but they can inspire the right team around them by having the correct morals to get the job done. Jeff and Adam set out to bring true workmanship, quality, and trust to the remodeling industry that did not have it at the time. And they inspired a massive team of like-minded individuals to bring that vision to the masses. I'm supposed to say masses. And so Satoshi set out to fix money for everyone in the world. This was, again, a massive task. They were very active in the beginning of the socials of the Bitcoin network through the channels. And then they disappeared forever as the next generation of believers stepped up. So after 2 years, Satoshi Nakamoto disappeared. Never entered the chat again, never talked to anyone. It's just a gift he gave to humanity. The Bitcoin network stands for freedom and personal property rights. You deserve to keep the money you create, the value you create in life, and not have that taken away. And that's what he believed in. If you bring value to the world, it shouldn't get depreciated. Your efforts should be valued. So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the first peer-to-peer network where all transactions are recorded on a publicly audited ledger known as the blockchain. The blockchain is a fundamental new element in the world that keeps transactions in order. This is the first ledger in history that requires no middleman or financial institution to give you permission to transact. This ledger cannot be corrupted, breached, or changed. All transactions are accurate. The blockchain moves you from the trust system to the truth system. So currently, we're in the trust system. We have to trust bankers to not lose our money. We give them our money, they can lend out 98% of it. What if they put it into a bad investment? What if they lend it out to someone that will never pay that money back? Where does that extra money come from to pay you back? Government taxes you. You pay it again. So you're paying yourself back for them to lose your money, right? So currently, in the system we have now, you make a transaction at your local deli, your bank, payment processor, their bank, the recipient. This is why you go to a deli, cash or card. Card, you pay an extra 3% per transaction. Because someone has to touch the button to say this happened. And he has the money to pay this guy, right? So Bitcoin takes this entire system out of the equation. There's no one that can tell you no. There is no one that can stop your transaction. This money is real. This guy has a wallet that can receive it. It goes from there to there. No, it can't be faked. It can't be changed. That really happened. I like to always say this, like if I go to a party and I'm like, hey man, I love my wife. And then I go to the party, I'm like, hey man, I didn't say that, right? Nah, he doesn't love his wife. If I tell this whole group of people, hey, I love my wife, guys. We go to a bigger party. Guys, I didn't say that, right? Nah, he didn't say that. You can change what I said. If I go to an auditorium and I tell everyone I love my wife, I can convince 100,000 people that I didn't say that. And they all have to agree. That can't happen. So Bitcoin is the truth system. This is what happened. This money is here, they hold it. It is a completely public ledger. You can see where every single Bitcoin is held. You don't know whose wallet it is. You don't know the person's name attached to that wallet, but you know that wallet holds this amount of Bitcoin and it was moved on this date at this time. So imagine that in the government. Not to get political or anything, but RFK, huge presidential candidate, is saying he wants to put the government budget on the blockchain so that we can see when we spend $16,000 for a toilet seat or $90,000 for a bag of bolts, all right? Your taxes are paying that. The government doesn't make money. Taxes go to the government to fund the government. So this system changes and gets rid of this system, which is power. And that's what the fight is. That is what's going on in the world. So what is Bitcoin continued? Fake internet money. You've heard this term, right? This is just fake. I can't hold it. You want to hold some Bitcoin? Hold my head. Bitcoin you can take anywhere. It is property in cyber Manhattan. The cool thing about this type of property, there's no property tax. There's no income tax. There's no maintenance costs. There's no interest payments. There's no insurance payments. There's no dealing with tenants. It can't be confiscated, and it can be sold instantly to everyone in the world. So they say if you have money or wealth, how do you want to store your wealth? You want to store it in property, right? Well, what if that city goes to shit? What if nobody wants to buy that big building in New York anymore? What do? You take a loss on your money, you wait months to get it settled, you pay 6% of a fee, of a listing fee to a real estate agent. Property, this is now a form of property that everybody understands the rules to. No country, no company, no single person or group of people can change the rules. We all know what the rules are. You're from Africa, you're from America, you're rich, you're poor, it doesn't matter. The Bitcoin network is a rules-based monetary system that everybody gets to play in. So Bitcoin exists in purely digital form and is secured using cryptography, also known as mining. But since it's digital network, it can't be faked. So you cannot give me fake Bitcoin. That would not move on the Bitcoin network. So it just makes it accurate. And you know exactly you're getting the exact amount that you're supposed to get from the exact person you're supposed to get it. Smart contracts change the world. So Bitcoin is also a brand new asset class. The GOAT, Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy. Bitcoin is either going to $0 or $1 million, and it ain't going to zero. On January 11th of 2024, the SEC approved 9 spot Bitcoin ETFs. So from 2013 to that date, they had denied every single ETF approval before that. Banks weren't ready, the world wasn't ready, they didn't know what this asset class really was. But on January 11th of this year, they authenticated Bitcoin as a brand new asset class in the world. When do you ever get to invest in a brand new asset class? Never, okay? You never get to invest in a brand new asset class. So this approval legitimized Bitcoin and finally opened the door for industry adoption. BlackRock and Fidelity have had the 2 most successful ETF launches in US history. They were extremely popular from the start. In only 96 trading days, so as of yesterday, these ETFs have bought 570,000 Bitcoin. That's average of 5,937 Bitcoin a day in just 96 trading days. On May 15th, companies holding over $100 million in assets on their balance sheets had to submit their 13F filings to the SEC. So you only have to file under 13F if you hold over $100 million in assets. So these are the largest companies in the country. How many of these companies hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet? Just take a guess. If you heard me say it, don't say it. How many companies hold Bitcoin? Take a guess. Someone throw a number out.
5.
5. Good guess. 1,028.
Good guess.
So before January 11th, that number was under 20. Okay? So now, after 1 quarter, the first quarter, 3 months, 1,028 companies hold Bitcoin ETFs. This isn't just small companies. This is pension funds, corporations, hedge funds, banks, Wells Fargo. These companies are now all buying Bitcoin. And now that it's public, after May 15th, everyone saw the competition that is buying Bitcoin. Game theory is just beginning. Once you understand Bitcoin reprices your money, reprices your future, you see your competitor buying Bitcoin, you are going to buy Bitcoin. Because again, this is hard money. So we are in Q1 of industry adoption. Do not feel like you are late. This is just starting. Bitcoin is digital gold. You've probably heard this term before, right? But Bitcoin is digital gold. Gold has been used for 1,000 years to store people's wealth. Why? Because it's hard to get out of the ground. It's really hard to dig up. It costs a lot of money, a lot of effort, and humans can't magically just create gold out of thin air. So that's why it's held its value for so long. It also has properties where you can use in technology and stuff. But Bitcoin is even harder to produce than gold. The negatives of gold that Bitcoin fixes, so gold is hard to store and transport. Where are you going to store $100,000 in gold? In a safe, you're going to bury it in the ground. Now take that to Europe, if you got to leave America quickly, or the vice versa. How are you going to ship $100,000 in gold? A bricks truck? Can't hold it. Bitcoin can be stored and taken anywhere by remembering 12 words in your head. I can have $1 billion in here, I can have 10 bucks in here. It doesn't matter. I just have to remember 12 words and I can take it with me wherever I go. Gold is hard to fractionalize. Give me $20 in gold. How do you do that? Chip off a little corner, you gotta weigh it. How do you know there's tungsten not in there? Or some fake metal just shined up? Bitcoins can be broken down to 18 decimal places. So you can fractionalize Bitcoin down to like 18 zeros, which is kind of insane. No one knows how much gold there is in the world. There's only estimates. So at any moment, they can find a large supply of gold in the ground and changes the whole inflation rate or quality of gold. Bitcoin can't be counterfeited. You can't magically make more Bitcoin. Gold has an inflation rate of about 3 to 4% a year. And that's, again, if they don't find like a magical big pile of gold. But if gold went to $10,000 an ounce, it's currently like $2,100 an ounce, they're gonna mine more gold. So the inflation rate is gonna go higher because again, it's there, you just have to get it and the money has to equal the amount of effort to get that gold out of the ground. So if gold price, that's why gold price never flies. But if it did, they can mine more of it. There's only 19,704,523 Bitcoin mined to date. We all know that number. That is inflation. Someone can discover a massive amount of gold at any time. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin ever. That number cannot change. We all know the rules, and there's already 19.7 million out today. Bitcoin is the world's first truly hard form of money. So now we're going to get into the fun part. How does it actually work? Crafting hard money with proof of work. We all know at Power, windows just don't go into the opening, right? It takes a lot of effort, a lot of planning, a whole process that no one sees. The client just sees that new window in their door. So creating Bitcoin is not just, let me just turn on my computer and I'll make a Bitcoin. So how does Bitcoin work? Bitcoin is protected by the proof of work network, also known as mining. Since January 3rd of 2009, every 10 minutes a Bitcoin block is produced, which records and authenticates every transaction in chronological order. So this is that public ledger I was talking about that's put onto the blockchain. And it's chronological order, that's why it's called a chain. So you know exactly the order of the process and the transactions. A miner is just a person or entity that runs a specialized hardware chip that's only purpose is to solve the difficulty equation and win the Bitcoin block rewards. So this computer you can't play video games with this computer, you can't mine graphics, you can only run the Bitcoin algorithm. It has one purpose. So it's not an all-purpose kind of chip or anything like that. The difficulty equation mixed with the block rewards is the genius behind the proof of work network. One single miner machine in the world wins that block every 10 minutes. So even though there's hundreds of thousands of miners mining, one machine wins that block reward every 10 minutes. The current block reward is 3.125 Bitcoin. So every 10 minutes, one machine earns 3.125 Bitcoin, which at today's price is $218,000. The more miners online, the stronger the Bitcoin network is. So this is also called hash rate. Hash rate is how many miners are on the network, hashing the algorithm. And the more miners on there, the more protected Bitcoin is. And the coolest thing about this mining system and proof of work, the Bitcoin network is the strongest computer system ever invented. So not only is it hard, it's hard money because the thing that backs it is the strongest computer system ever invented. There's not a single system out there that is harder to crack than the Bitcoin network. This is extremely important to understand.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How much is one of them miner machines?
Yeah, so they're depend. You get an old rig, but they're gonna be like a couple grand, like $3-4 grand. But like if you own one machine, you're never gonna hit a block. So just buy Bitcoin, because the energy cost you're gonna spend running that machine all day, every day. You just buy Bitcoin with that, you're gonna make out better. But if you hit a block, 218 grand, obviously the energy bills are covered forever. But the odds of your one machine hitting a block is very, very low. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit. So every day there's 144 blocks produced. So again, like I said, one every 10 minutes. Every 2100 blocks, or approximately 2 weeks, the difficulty of the math equation is increased or decreased depending on the hash rate. So this is the genius. No matter how many computers come online, after 2 weeks, it determines how many miners are on the network, and it adjusts the difficulty. That difficulty is adjusted so that the puzzle continues to be solved every 10 minutes. So yes, if the difficulty is here and all of a sudden all these extra miners come up, instead of it being a 10-minute solve, it might be 9 minutes and 57 seconds. Or if the miner shut off, it might be 10 minutes and 2 seconds. But on average, it's going to average 10 minutes per block. So, and then every 210,000 blocks, or roughly 4 years, the block rewards get cut in half. This is known as the Bitcoin halving. This mixed with mining is the beauty. So the Bitcoin halving, the most genius thing ever invented with money. Bitcoin started in 2009, and every 10 minutes it released 50 new Bitcoin per block, or 7,200 new Bitcoin a day. After the first 4 years, 10.5 million Bitcoin were mined out of 21 million in the first 4 years. The first halving happened in 2012. This reduced the block rewards from 50 down to 25 Bitcoin, or only 3,600 new Bitcoin a day. The second halving in 2016 reduced the rewards down to 12.5 Bitcoin per block, or 1,800 new Bitcoin a day. The third halving in 2020 reduced the rewards down to 6.125 Bitcoin, or 900 new Bitcoin a day. Oh, this is cool. So the first halving, Bitcoin price was $12. The second halving, it was $640. I'll let you guys do the math in 4 years what that gain was. Third halving, $8,730, and the fourth halving happened April 19th of this year, so less than 7 weeks ago. This reduced the rewards to 3.125 new Bitcoin, or 450 new Bitcoin a day, and the price was a little under $69,000. As a reminder, the new Bitcoin ETFs purchase on average 5,900 Bitcoin a day. So now that we only have 450 coming out every single day, where are they going to get this Bitcoin from? They got to pry it from your hands, because this is property that they cannot confiscate or take from you. Math. Fun math. 450 new Bitcoin a day at $70,000 a Bitcoin. Every single day, Bitcoin miners are rewarded with $31.5 million. So the Bitcoin network is paying people to protect that network with the rewards, which is pretty cool. By the year 2036, 99% of all Bitcoin will have already been mined. So the inflation rate will be practically zero for the remainder of Bitcoin history. The last Bitcoin will be mined in 2146. We all know this because, again, the way the system works, we know exactly what's happening by the rules. So the 21 millionth of a fraction of a Bitcoin will be mined in the year 2146, so 120 years from now. So currently, and I said this, there's 19,704,523 Bitcoin. We know that down to the number, which is amazing. From 2009 to the first halving, 10,500,000 Bitcoin were mined. Now, obviously, this could have been really, really bad. That was 50% of the supply coming out in the first 4 years. But the ones paying attention understood what was coming, what was being built. And Satoshi, the amazing person that he was, he put 1 billion Bitcoin in a wallet and has left that for the world as a gift to the world. It has not been moved, not been touched. Many people believe that this is just, as an ode to Bitcoin to add that value forever to the network. Other people, depending on how deep you get down the conspiracy theory, is that Satoshi is waiting. And after the 99% of Bitcoin is going to come out, this is going to be where you all get paid. What is that? I'm drawing a blank.
Cash out.
No. Global. No. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Universal basic income. So because the network will be so valuable and that price can only go up because math and no supplies coming out, that this could become universal basic income for the entire world. They can like start draining it. And over 4 million Bitcoin from the early days are lost forever. Okay, so when you understand there's 19.21 million forever and 4 million will never be able to touch. If you lose your wallet keys or throw them out or forget your password, there's no bank, person, or anyone that can help you get it back. So those Bitcoin are forever gone. So the system gets more valuable as Bitcoin gets lost, which sucks. If you lose it, you're your own bank. So you have to really take control and be smart with your finances. But now the ETFs, you don't have to worry about it. You can just call up, hey, I want 10 Bitcoin. You're in. Power can do that tomorrow and never be in debt forever. Now that your money manager can get you into Bitcoin through the ETFs. But yeah, so we're owned forever. There's probably going to be about 17 million Bitcoin ever. And from April 2020 to April 2024, 1.3 million Bitcoin were mined over those 4 years. And now from this April till the next halving, 656,350 Bitcoin will be mined in the next 4 years. That's roughly 1,460 days. We all know this. These are the rules. Reminder, the 9 new ETFs have purchased 570,000 Bitcoin in 96 trading days, 3 months. That's 4 years of Bitcoin they bought in 3 months. So no matter how much demand comes to Bitcoin, they cannot make more. There is no magical button to print more Bitcoin to add to the network. You just have to buy it. You have to find it. Buy it at whatever price it is, because there's no way of cheating it. So Bitcoin miners compete to win the rewards. But no miner has any control over the network to win a reward more than another miner. You don't get a special thing. Everyone has the same fair chance of winning that block. Now, there are better machines out there. So some miners do run more efficient rigs and get more guesses at the equation per minute. But that doesn't mean they have an unfair advantage to win that block. It is still completely random. Any miner can win that math equation. Because of this, miners have to run their machines 24/7 if they can afford it. Small miners join mining pools to receive a portion of Bitcoin rewards every month. So let's say you bought a Bitcoin miner, right? You could then tie yourself into a larger mining pool of hundreds of miners, and you all split the rewards fairly. So if you offer 2 rigs, I got 20 rigs, you get your portion of the Bitcoin rewards for the hash rate that you bring to the pool. But I would just buy Bitcoin if you're going to go that route, because you're going to make out better. But Bitcoin mining consumes a lot of energy. So you've heard this term, like it's killing the planet. It's just destroying the world. It's been estimated that U.S. Bitcoin mining consumed 0.6% to 2.3% of all energy consumed in the U.S. in 2023. It's a lot of energy. This would be the annual consumption of 3 million to 6 million households. Because of the energy usage, Bitcoin mining is expensive. But is this bad? Let's find out. The genius of reducing the block rewards. So if it was always 50 Bitcoin a block, you would be able to run your miner forever on whatever gas fee it costs, because 50 Bitcoin is a lot of money. But because mining rewards are halved every 4 years and energy costs continue to go up, this forces miners to find free or cheaper energy. Bitcoin doesn't waste energy. It finds wasted energy. This number is debated, but many studies show that 50% of the global mining hash rate is from completely green energy and costs the grid $0. Proof of work is forcing developers to get creative with energy and how it's used and how they build buildings. So El Salvador, you may have heard of El Salvador. They were the first country to adopt Bitcoin as their global reserve currency, or their national currency. And they went from the crime capital of the world to one of the highest vacation destinations currently. El Salvador has mined 474 Bitcoin using free volcano-fueled geothermal power. So by the exhaust of the volcano that would happen naturally, they just bought the rigs, no extra additional cost for infrastructure, and they run that energy through that miner, and they've mined $30 million worth of Bitcoin, and their entire economy is worth $500 million. So it's like, pretty cool. Texas, you've heard of these outages, these power outages, blackouts, all this stuff. Their grid is all jacked up. They have to build it up to the max peak of when you're going to use your AC in the summer and everything, and then half the time that energy isn't used. But they have to charge customers for all that non-used energy. So Texas has now fixed this is one of the most Bitcoin mining states in the entire country. So Texas has fixed their inefficient energy grid by using normally wasted energy to mine Bitcoin. So instead of just wasting that energy and letting it escape, they can now turn on a miner and have a chance of winning one block. So now if they win that one block, that's $218,000. They don't have to charge you because it monetizes the energy grid so that you don't have to pay that bill. Brazil's hydro plant, one of the most hydro nations in the world, mines Bitcoin with normally wasted energy just by a waterfall. So if you're a country that has free energy, solar, wind, hydro, you have access to the global reserve currency. HVAC miners. Companies in the US are creating HVAC miners where your Bitcoin, it'll just be part of the price, and when it's not running or you're not using it, it will just mine Bitcoin. And if you happen to hit a block, it'll be shared with all the people, all the homes that have the miners. Pretty crazy. Was it expensive to develop the West? We are creating an entirely new monetary system. So yes, it is costly and energy efficient. There's a lot of energy going into it right now. But back when we developed the West of the US, it was expensive to bring all that steel, all that lumber out there. So what did they do? They built the railway system. How expensive was it to build the railway system at that time? It was an insane number. It was a crazy idea, but how much money did it save after? That is what's happening here. Bitcoin is fixing energy and creating new energy resources that will change our world. Okay, I know, we get it, Sam, we get it. Bitcoin is a new form of property that's easily stored and transported. You can take it anywhere, no one can say no. No person, company, or country can change its rules. It gives every person and country on Earth access to the global monetary system. You cannot be shut off from this system. It can't be counterfeited or confiscated. It's easily divisible. It's finite, and everyone knows the issue rate. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. You can transact with anyone in the world at any time. No one can tell you no. They cannot stop that transaction. The network is protected by the strongest computing system ever invented. It's backed by 1% of the world's energy, which will eventually cost $0 to protect. So as the rewards get reduced, you need to go free energy or $0 energy. So once you understand, the whole monetary system is eventually going to be backed by $0 of cost. That's the network. But what about quantum computing? I'm joking. I'm not going to get into that. But a lot of people do think that's a threat. Quantum computing would break every system in the world before the Bitcoin network. And the amount of energy it takes to do one compute on these quantum computers is double that of the entire Bitcoin network to do one equation. So they could only break the Bitcoin network for one block, and then all the miners can default to the block before, and it'd be gone. They can't be broken, because you can just default back to that block, because the truth system, this is what happened. We knew it was corrupted. So don't worry about that. You have nothing to worry about. Now, don't get me wrong. I have no idea. Shit could go crazy, right? But like till 2035, like you have nothing to worry about with that. But the most important thing, and I just, I went through a lot of detail there, very intense. I get it. It's a lot of information, but like this is an insanely important thing to do, to understand. And this is all I do. I literally take in information about finances, disruption, technology, crypto. I love it. It's just, once you know it and understand it, you see the issue and you understand what's fixing it. Bitcoin reprices your time. And again, we only get a certain amount of time, and God forbid you get sick in America. All the money you saved is gone. It's just insane. So again, with Bitcoin, everything gets cheaper in Bitcoin terms. Truly hard money can only go up over time. 2 + 2 can never be 5. The dollar, we can change that, right? So you can make it 5. Countries will end up settling trades in Bitcoin, because why would you take the peso? Bitcoin, we all know the rules, so give me oil, I'll give you Bitcoin. Bitcoin can fix the world's debt. By monetizing a portion of the US economy's debt with Bitcoin, we can actually recover. The only way to get out of the debt is GDP, creating a new industry, which AI is coming. But AI causes disruption, and that's gonna kill so many jobs. So yes, the GDP will go up, but only certain companies will benefit. And if you're not investing in those companies, your job's gonna be gone. And that sucks, but that is coming, and there's no stopping that. So the world of abundance is coming. How we get there is the question. So when your money's fixed and you can get more for your money, things will get cheaper to cost, because now a bot will make that thing. You don't have to pay a labor, tax, healthcare benefits, all that stuff. And there's a pretty crazy chart. The average home in the US dollars in 2016, it was $288,000. In 2020, it was $328,000. In 2024, it was $434,000. Did that house get $200,000 better? Probably not. They might have added a kitchen, right? They might have added something cool, but or did the dollar get weaker? Your dollar got you less. So with Bitcoin, it was 664 Bitcoin in 2016. In 2020, it was 45 Bitcoin. In 2024, it's 6.6 Bitcoin. So again, reprice your time. Conclusion, we are so early. So once you understand, you're not late. There's no late to Bitcoin. Once you understand how the inflation rate works and adoption, you're not late. No one is talking about these things. None of your friends, none of your relatives, no one is talking about it. But if you're paying attention and you're affected, or you're a country that is just getting destroyed with inflation, you are paying attention, because this fixes many problems. Money problem causes unnecessary stress. And when they can make more money magically by pushing a button, the normal person will never catch up unless you're investing properly. You get less for your money today than you did yesterday. It's sad but true. Bitcoin takes you out of the debt system and moves you into the energy system. And the world moves by energy. Much like power, this wasn't created overnight. The protocol has been battle tested over 15 years. Once you truly understand what's coming, it's hard to ignore it. The test will continue forever. People will try and hack the network, break the network, and every time, the next block will be created, and the network will power through it. Power has the same mindset. Keep building, adopting, and developing to improve their mission. If you start focusing on the right goals, inspire the right leadership, and stand for what's right for your consumer, you will always hit your goal. Get off zero and start repricing your future.